Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Shooting the Shit with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. If you watch my video today, I know I talked about how Tucker Carlson said civil war is pretty much inevitable now because, nobody has anything in common with their neighbor. Of course, Tucker Carlson is just a mouthpiece for foreign interests and everything else because, he had to replace that Fox paycheck somehow. So I don't take him very seriously, but I wanted to talk about what he said, so I made that video today. And kind of to go along with that video today, I want to ask, do you out there, do you think that civil war is actually something we're headed to? Is it something that's even possible in modern America? And if we had one, what would it look like? That's what I want to know from you guys. So feel free to answer. You got right up till I say that's it today, and then I give my opinion, because I'm going to hold my opinion till the end. So I want to see what you all say first, and I don't want to influence what anybody says. Regardless of what people say, I don't only let like-minded people speak. Anybody can do it. So feel free. But before we do get over to what other people got to say, I want to remind everyone, if you want to support the channel, going over to TYMPpistolproject.com. Over there, you can buy merchandise like Space Force. He's got a M18 there, so he's probably dead by now. He's probably shot himself. But going over, get some merchandise. There's tons of merchandise over there. You can buy hats, shirts, mugs, etc. And it's all hand-drawn by me, every design. Not on everything. I don't draw it on like every cup. But each design is something that I sat down and hand-drew. My own works, not clip art. So go over and get something if you appreciate hand-drawn work. Help support the channel, save pets, help veterans, etc. You can also become a Subscribe Star member, a Patreon member, get patches, etc. over there, become part of the solution, help out with the TYMPPP and the Pets and Vets. So going over there, become a supporter, a channel member, buy some merchandise, whatever you want to do, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit select all on the notifications. We're a restricted channel. You might not get any, but we'll see. It's better to try than fail than just not try, at least in my opinion. But as I was saying here, I'm going to read what other people got to say first, and then I will give my opinion at the end. So let's get started here. Sean Bain says, I don't think there will be one at all. This isn't 1850s. We are not hanging each other or hacking each other with axes. Not yet, but if certain people got their way, we would be. Even Donald Trump the other day said, Democrats are evil. They're of Satan. And I'm like, I never thought I'd see the day a president said that. That was disgusting. And I can't believe more people aren't disgusted by it. But that's just a sign of his supporters, I guess. Sign of the times when it comes to his supporters. Donna W. said, would take some disaster fighting over what's left. So basically we would have to collapse into next to nothingness, then people could fight over what there was, which I think is more likely than a civil war. And I don't really know if I consider that civil war. I just consider that the country collapsed. I think that's far more likely than a civil war with the scenario you're talking about there. Andrew Avila, the Civil War should be haves versus have-nots. It should be, yes. It should be the 99% against the 1% that have corrupted our government. But how would that work? I mean, when will it happen? And that wouldn't really, I don't think that would be civil war. I think that'd be rebellion. Like I said in my chat today, if the left and the right and everybody in the middle joined together against the people that have corrupted our country, that wouldn't be civil war. That would be rebellion. And that's why they're preaching civil war, because they don't want you thinking about rebellion. And then we got a nominal snowman, improbable. Where did he get that word from? He must be using a thesaurus. Lots of foreign influences like money, intel, psyops, weapons smuggling to sow more discord from China, Russia, etc. Bloody if it does come. Yeah, but I just don't see it coming. I don't see right against left or anything like that, or state against state. I just don't see it's possible. Now, yeah, there is a lot of influence right now from people that take money from Russia and China and other investment firms that are tied to Russia and China to do their little podcasts and speak their bullshit. But I would hope most people can see through that stuff, but they don't. Let's see here. Then we got Mark L chiming in. Civil war, as it was before, is not likely. There will not be lines on borders as before, but societal failure and civil strife will happen and increase, which is kind of like what we were talking about earlier, more of a collapse than a civil war. And like I say, that's probably more likely. Johnny Mandrick said, civil war is not likely. The right certainly isn't going to do it. They are bootlickers. I've made that point today. The left may, if they are scared enough. Yeah, but what are they going to do? Slap everybody into submission? Are they going to weak-wristed slap people? They have shown a willingness to stand up. They do have more of a willingness to stand up, especially the younger people. But I will say that seems to fade as you get older. Once you start paying rent and paying bills, and paying everything else, that seems to fade away. So I don't know if there's enough on either side that would actually still fight. There's still people on the right that would fight. There's people that don't fall for the shit. And they're capable of fighting, but there's not enough of them. People on the left, there's still, I'd say even more people on the left that would stand up to the government. But do they have any power or ability? That's the problem. Here's the thing. If it ever happens, the people on the left are going to need the people on the right to arm them because they ain't been doing it. So we're going to need to come together. But I agree that there's probably more young people on the left that are actually willing to fight back now. The right has become the party of authoritarian love. They just love the cops. They love their politicians. They love seeing people's rights get trampled on if it's the right people. You know what I mean? I don't understand it. Used to be the motto was, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Now it is, if I don't agree with what you say, screw the First Amendment. They should bomb you from the sky. Yeah, and that's a sad transition. And they've been working hard on getting that, and they've gotten it. Pigar said, is civil strife the same as civil war? No, because then in civil strife, everybody's just trying to survive. It's everybody for themselves. So I think that's completely different. But when you're not fighting for a cause, you're just fighting to survive. You know, if you're fighting for scraps in the street, that's not a civil war. Who's your Viking? Said, get rid of America's aristocracy. No change until the rich stop controlling the narrative. Well, that's true, but how do we do that? And a civil war ain't going to cause that. Like I say, it would have to be a rebellion to cause that. So I don't know how that would happen. But yeah. And that looks like that's our last person actually weighing in on the topic tonight. So I will give my opinion now. I agree with most everything that was said. Well, there's someone chimed in here at the last minute. Let me get that real quick. Johnny Mandrick said, there are more people on the left arm than the anti-gunners want to admit, plus the anarchists. Well, there are more people on the left that own guns. That's true. But I think those are mainly the people that fall into that category of too busy paying rent, too busy paying for their mortgage, too busy paying for that. The younger people don't seem to be as armed. Even when I show up at these events and I try to chronicle what's really happening on the streets, the people that are supposedly so well armed and organized, they're not armed, and they're definitely not organized, and they're definitely not well armed. You'll see one or two people with a gun that was provided for them because someone wanted them to be seen with that gun. So it's a shit show. But as I was saying, that's our last weigh in on that topic. So let me say what I think. I agree with most everyone. There is not going to be a civil war. Like I said, who's going to fight it? Most people are too lazy to get off their couch. I think what's most likely is the civil unrest and the degradation of our country, like people are saying. And I think if it gets bad enough, you'll eventually have states that start peeling off and they become their own little fiefdoms. West Coast, Northeast, South, Midwest, all those things, they'll have to form up and try to stay together. But even those will be ruled by their own individual little billionaires. They're industrialists that control everything. It won't be freedom. It'll just be different types of oppression because no one ever rose up and stopped them. And as long as no one stops them, we're never going to get our country back. So no, I don't think civil war is even possible in today's society because, like I said, what's it going to be? State to state? I mean, even in the really, like Alabama, people would say, like, Alabama, that's a deep red state. That's going to be, right-wingers 10-1 against the left. No, there are 1.9 million registered Republicans in Alabama. There's 1.4 something registered Democrats. And then there's another 300,000 independents that lean Democrat. The majority of them, like 75%. So that's all. That's not 10 to 1. That's not even 2 to 1. That's not even 1 1/4 to 1. So how much fighting would there have to be inside of states? Big cities would be fighting against counties. So that ain't possible. Now, if the society starts to collapse, well, then the majority will rule in each state as to which little fiefdom do we join. And then people who don't like being in that fiefdom, if they have the ability, will have to leave and go to one that they think suits their needs better. You know, the billionaire that they think is the most benevolent for their causes. But yeah, civil war is just not possible. And the only reason people like Tucker Carlson, et cetera, are preaching it right now because China and Russia and the people who pay for these big investment firms and stuff that fund people like Tucker Carlson, that's what they want on the streets. They want people to think that civil war's coming. And the people in this country that are in charge, well, they want you to think civil war is coming too, because that keeps you from forming together and having a rebellion instead of a civil war. But like I said, civil war, as most people hear, it's not possible, not with the way we're divided now, because we're not divided state by state. This isn't the Civil War. There isn't a concrete issue at stake, like is slavery wrong? And as much as people like to try to rewrite history about Civil War, it was about slavery. Read the Declaration where the South separates from the Union and read what it's about. It's about slavery. It's the very first thing they mention. That slavery is how they make their money, and the Northerners want to take that away from them. So, no, it ain't going to happen. And like I said, the only people talking about it benefits is the people that are really in charge, the elites that don't want us to rebel. But that pretty much does it for us today. I want to thank everybody for coming and participating. We'll be doing the America Guns and Freedom here in just a moment, so stick around for that. But as far as shooting the shit goes, we're done for the day. So thanks for coming. Those of you out there in YouTube land, let me know what you think in the comment section. Talk to me, talk to each other. Do you think civil war is a possibility? And if so, what would it look like? If you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to one of our live chats. We do them every night at 6 p.m. You could possibly even win some prizes if you come and participate. We like to give stuff away. So come on in. Let your voice be heard. For those of you that did show up tonight and did participate in shooting the shit, thanks. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.